Hi students, today our topic is AIDS, which is nothing but HIV infection and AIDS. Here if you see, it is a virus that targets the cells in the immune system. What is HIV means? It is a human immunodeficiency virus, which is a retrovirus that causes infection and reduction in the CD4 plus cells. What are these CD4 cells plus cells means? These are the helper cells of the T lymphocytes. This impaired immune state is responsible for the AIDS, which is nothing but acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, along with the other opportunistic infections. To be very specific, AIDS is a specific opportunistic infection where this CD4 plus count is less than 200 per microliter, means where we count CD4 plus cells accounting for less than 14% of the lymphocytes. If you see here, this immune system begins to this immune system begins to fails, then it increases the risk of infection, what we call that as a immunodeficiency, and other tumors that a healthy immune system would usually able to fend off. As one of these complications is known as AIDS. This is about the AIDS. Here if you see, there are two types of HIV, that is HIV1 and HIV2, where the HIV1 is most commonly associated with the AIDS, and which is usually occurs in the US and worldwide, but HIV2 is very rare and typically restricted to the areas in the Western Africa and Southern Asia. Before going to the transmission signs or diagnosis, here we will discuss, we'll see how this HIV infection attaches to the immune system and how it causes the other healthy immune system to be affected person. Here HIV mostly targets the CD4 cells, CD4 plus cells, which means that the cells have the specific molecule called CD4 on their membrane, and here macrophages, T helper, these macrophages, T helper cells, and these are dendritic cells. You can remember their shapes. Based on their shape, we can further learn about that. All are involved in this immune response, and all of these having CD4 molecules. Therefore, they can be only these cells can be targeted by the HIV. Here the CD4 molecules helps these cells attach and communicate with the other immune cells, which is particularly important when the cells are attacking against the foreign pathogens. So little molecule is important for our immune system, but it's extremely important for the HIV. And here if you see, this HIV targets and attaches the CD4 molecule. This is the CD4 molecule, this is the HIV. This HIV targets the CD4 molecule via a protein called GP120. This is a protein called GP120. By this protein, it attaches to the CD4 molecule, and which is found on its envelope. And here HIV, and it again uses this GP120 protein molecules to attach to the another receptor. This is the another receptor, what we call that as a co-receptor. By using this GP120 proteins, first it attaches to the CD4 cells, and then it attaches to a receptor called co-receptor. Here it needs to bind to both the CD4 molecules and co-receptor to get inside the cell. This is the cell. For getting inside the cell, it definitely needs to attach to both these receptors. So the most common co-receptor that HIV uses is CXCR4 co-receptor, which is found mainly on the T cells, or CCR5 co-receptor, which is found on the T cells, macrophages, monocytes, and dendritic cells. And if you see, here these co-receptors are so important that some people with homogeneous genetic mutations in their CCR5 actually have resistance or immunity to HIV. Since HIV can't attach and get into the cell, In fact, even people with heterozygous mutations, which leads to fewer co-receptors on the cells, and they can make it harder for the virus to spread and results in a slower disease progression. Is it clear? Means there are people with the homogeneous genetic mutations in their CCR5 receptors. People who are having these homogeneous genetic mutations, they have very higher resistance to HIV, so that this HIV cannot attach and get into the cell, so they are very safe. This is in fact heterozygous mutations, which leads to fewer co-receptors on the cells and make harder for the virus to spread to the body. For and for those people, and people for those without these mutations, they have for that people, once HIV binds to the CD4 or either CCR5 or CXR4 co-receptors, it gains access to the cells. Means this is the HIV, so now it got access into the cell. Why? Because means some people may lack that homogeneous genetic mutations. Due to that lack of that, they gain access to the cells. And here HIV is a single-stranded positive sense enveloped RNA retrovirus, means that it injects it's a single strand of RNA into the T helper cells. Retro means it refers that means it is using an enzyme called a reverse transcriptase to transcribe a complementary double-stranded piece of proviral DNA. This is a proviral DNA. Proviral means it is readily to be integrated into the host DNA. So it enters into the T helper cells nucleus and pops itself. This DNA, it enters into the T helper cells and got into their actual process. And now the DNA is ready to transcribe into the new virus. Here, when these immune cells becomes activated, they start transcribing and translating the proteins needed for the immune response. Means what happening here means the immune cells is exposed to something that causes an immune response like an infection, and then the immune cells end up with the transcribing and translating new HIV virus. Here after the DNA enters into the T cells, the HIV cells, immune cells get activated and they causes new HIV. Due to by this they became a new HIV viruses. So, and it infects more from the cell membrane, it infects more cells. Here we have to know that HIV is notorious for making errors when it replicates, and that during an infection it can mutate to create slightly different strains of viruses. Means this is from general HIV virus, it causes different strains of viruses due to errors during the replication. These viruses are still considered as HIV, but they have slight different behavior from each other, and target these newly produced HIV cells can target different cells in the host. In fact, that the host cells preference is called, these targeted different cells are called viral tropism. So we'll start how HIV entered in the body. If you see here, the HIV entering the body through sexual intercourse. We already know that this virus enters into the body. Mainly it enters through the sexual intercourse, which is typically spread from the person to the another person. At this point, means at the early point, during what we call early stage of infection, we call that as an acute infection. So this is the infected person, this is the normal person. Through sexual intercourse, this infected person attacks the normal person and he became the infected. This early stage is called acute infection, and person with this acute infection contains R5 strain of the HIV. This is the R5 strain of the HIV which binds to the CCR5 coreceptor, and it will get into the macrophages, dendritic cells and T cells. After that, usually dendritic cells hanging out in this epithelial tissue or mucosal tissue where the viruses enter the body. They capture the virus and migrate into the lymph nodes. Means this dendritic cell is then later migrate into the lymph nodes. Here you can see. Sorry. This is migrate into the lymph nodes and it infect all the other dendritic cells, macrophages and T cells in the lymph nodes. After entering where there is a lot of immune cells live, and these R5 strain of HIV essentially infected the T helper cells, macrophages and dendritic cells, which leads to big spike in HIV replication and amount of virus found in the patient's blood. Here if you see this in the HIV, amount of HIV in the blood, if you see here, the patient typically experience flu-like symptoms or mononucleus like symptoms during the acute infection. This is the acute infection. At this acute infections, he will experience flu-like symptoms, and later that in response to this, the immune system mounts a counter-attack and starts the control over the amount of viral replication. Here, after in the acute stage, here it counterattacks and controls the viral infection, viral replication. So again it came down, and if you see, the amount of virus in the blood declines to lower, but still it is detectable level by 12 weeks. As it is becoming lower, but we can observe that the amount of virus in the blood for about 12 weeks, at this point the patient enters some chronic or latent phase. This is after here the patient enters the chronic or latent phase, which can last between 2 to 10 years. Means the time period for acute phase it is 12 weeks, and when patient enters into the chronic phase, it is last for 2 to 10 years. If you see here the amount of T cells alongside the amount of virus, we can see they are mirror to each other, and initially we can consider a decline in the acute phase. If you see here, we can consider a decline in the acute phase until the immune system counterattacks. After this point, we cannot be able to find any clinical signs or symptoms of the virus, but the virus is steadily chipping away from the immune system, in the immune system, and the number of virus in the blood slowly increases, while at the same time the T cells slowly decreases and losing about 1 to 2 billion T cells every day. During this chronic phase, the T cells count usually remains above 500 cells per mm cube, about the size of the head of a pin, and these patients can still fight off against the other infections, although some infections like TB become more common and severe in this condition. If you see during this chronic phase of HIV infection, it's worth pointing out some patients can develop X4 strain of HIV, which targets the CXCR4 coreceptor, which essentially only on the T cells. Means this X4 strain of the HIV only target these T cells, and if you see, these X4 strains goes to the lymphoid tissue and steadily destroy the CD4 T cells. About 90% of the T cells are found in the lymphoid tissues, and not all the patients will develop X4 strains, though it's not completely clear what the presence of the strains implies about the disease course. So here we can see what are the signs and symptoms what we are observing based on the count of the T cells. When the body's T cells drop low below the if it is between the 200 to 500 cells mm cube, the patient start experiencing symptoms like swollen lymph nodes or lymphadenopathy, as well as relatively minor infections like hairy leukoplakia, which is a hairy looking white patch on the side of the tongue which is caused by the Epstein-Barr virus, and that causes the mononucleus, as well as we can observe that oral candidiasis, which is an yeast infection in the mouth. As more T cells lost, the level falls below the 200 cells per mm cube. This is the symptoms what we are observing when the T cells are between 200 to 500. If the T cells are less than 200 cells, then we can see that the immune system becomes severely compromised, and at this stage the condition has progressed from the HIV disease to the AIDS. At this stage, when T cells is less than 200, then the HIV is progressed to AIDS. At this condition, the people can experience symptoms like persistent fever, fatigue, weight loss, diarrhea, and they can also, here we can also observe that the HIV count in the blood might increases significantly. And we can say these conditions, after this condition is start developing, we can define the conditions like recurrent bacterial pneumonia, pneumocystis pneumonia, fungal infections like candidiasis of esophagus, and we can also observe tumors and malignancies like Kaposi sarcoma, which causes lesions on the skin and other soft tissues, and which includes primarily lymphoma of the brain. These are the symptoms what we are observing, and many people with AIDS die from the infections that a healthy immune system would typically able to fend off. Like people with AIDS will die from other infections like pneumocystitis or cytomegalovirus or Mycobacterium avium complex. Means other infections may increase the risk of death in the patients with AIDS. And if we go for the transmission, first what we have to observe means here we can see the male to male transmission is the most common mode of transmission in US, and male to female is the most common mode in the other limited settings. And what is the less commonly means female to male transmission occurs since HIV is present in the vaginal and cervical fluids of the infected women. In fact, 75% of the all cases of HIV are contacted from the sexual intercourse, we know that. But the next common means other than the sexual intercourse, what is the next most common mode of transmission means IV drug abuse, and from the mother to child transmission. How this occurs means which this mode of transmission can occur during the placenta, during delivery, or via breast milk. And at last means less mode of transmission includes accidental needle sticks or use of blood products or any like blood transfusion. This is about the how it transmitted. If you go for the diagnosis, there are few types of HIV test, means antibody test or antigen antibody test and RNA DNA test. If you see the first antibody test, here this test look for the antibodies that the bodies made against the HIV. Means we can find the antibodies what are against the which act against the HIV. And if you go for the second one, this antigen test look for it directly look for the viruses, so that the antibody antigen test detect both antibodies to the virus as well as the virus itself. This is about the second test. And if we see in the third test, that is RNA and DNA test, it screen for the viral RNA so that they can also detect the virus directly. And here we can see that DNA test look for the copies of viral RNA. Since it is a retrovirus, so it copies its genetic material into the DNA. And for screening purpose, the recommended test is a antibody antigen test, means that is a second test, because which is better at identifying early infection. And it is also recommended that if the first test is positive, to follow it with a confirmatory test that looks for a antibody or nucleic acids. This is about the diagnosis. We can also we are most well known to the test like ELISA test and Western blot test for HIV. Here the ELISA test is highly sensitive and specific test, but up to 10% of positive results may occur. Hence we need the repetition of the test. We will do the repetition of the test after 1 week. If the earlier test indicates the infection is recommended, the positive ELISA for the second time is followed by the more specific but which is an expensive test called Western blot test. Means for the follow-up of the ELISA test, we have to go for the Western blot test, which also detects the presence of anti-HIV antibodies for final confirmation. We will use this as a final confirmation. And certain serological tests can be used for confirming the HIV infection. And if we see here, there are some laboratory tests used in the HIV infection. What are means? Complete blood count, CD4 plus count, and plasma HIV. These three must be important. And blood chemistry, hepatitis B serology means for knowing other immune opportunistic infections. And toxoplasma IgG means immunoglobulin G serology, syphilis serology, and measles antibody detection. These are the other required tests used for the confirmation of the HIV infection. If we go for the treatment, here we can observe that currently there is no cure for AIDS. We know that, and treatment can help somebody of people with AIDS to live longer and healthier lives, and this treatment also helps to reduce the risk of transmission. The primary method is to use the antiretroviral therapy, and it is not a single medicine but a combination of medicine known as HIV regimen. It helps to slow down the HIV replication, which gives the immune system a chance to recover from the infection and helps fight off from the other infections more effectively. This is the main goal of our treatment, what we are going to give. So what are the drugs involved in this means? There are 4 classification includes nucleoside and nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitors. In that we can see the following drugs, that is abacavir, didonosin, amtricitabine, lamivudine, stavudine, zidovudine, zalcitabine, and tenofovir. These are the drugs which involved in the first category. Means if we go clearly for these analogues are well tolerated with less side effects and long duration of action, and some people may experience some hypersensitivity reactions. And the second one, if we see here, second category is non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. These agents target HIV reverse transcriptase, means it blocks the complementary DNA elongation by binding directly. So the drugs involved is efavirenz, nevirapine, and delavirdine. These are the 3 drugs involved in the second category. If you see the protease inhibitors, this is the third category. In these agents competitively inhibit the HIV protease. Thereby it prevents the maturation of virus particles. And these are the widely preferred agent to treat HIV-1 infection. And accumulation of resistance, especially with monotherapy, and emergence of the resistant strains of HIV due to low concentration of the agent, or certain limitations using these kind of drugs. And what are the drugs we are seeing is indinavir, nalfinavir, and lopinavir. Along with the lopinavir, atazanavir, and fosamprenavir. These are the 5 types of drugs which are used. And the last one is a prodrug, which is nothing but the fosamprenavir. It is a prodrug of amprenavir available for the oral administration. And the 4th category is the entry inhibitors. These agents have recognized to target 3 early phases of the HIV replication and causes inhibition of the final step of entry. Means it blocks the entry of the final stage. Drugs include enfuvirtide. This is the drug which involved in the inhibiting the entry of the final stage. This is about the treatment of AIDS. And if you go for the prophylaxis of this condition, there are some various opportunistic infections are common in AIDS. So first, the prophylactic treatment after HIV infection is very important, as it can reduce the morbidity as well as the mortality. So if we see in the prophylactic therapy, it includes anti-TB drugs or pneumococcal drugs or vaccinations, antiviral drugs, antimicrobial agents. Because before treating the HIV, we have to subside all the other infections that increases the progression of disease. So for that, we'll use the anti-TB pneumococcal drugs and antiviral drugs. That's all.